Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. Sam Bushman live on your radio. Hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic. You know, we had an incredible hour last hour. New bombshell. Alex Preti details he was violent and out of control and armed and destroyed police property, and the whole list goes on. We covered that last hour. Check it out. It'll be available on YouTube soon, Rumble, and our website, libertyroundtable.com and lovingliberty.net. Spread the word. Tell the tale. Make sure we get more viewers, more listeners. The more we get, the better off we are, as we are truth tellers in the news, to say the least. Katy Perry urged her 201 million Instagram followers to go ahead and call the government switchboard, the Senate switchboard, and set the deadline as January 30th, so tomorrow. Over 90,000 likes were recorded, even though the site comments were disabled. And basically the people said, hey, you know what? We want to defund ICE or increase funding for ICE. Now, I'll tell you what's interesting about this. I agree with Katy Perry that we don't want to increase funding for ICE. You say, what, Sam? No, I'm not going against Tom Homan. I'm not going against Donald Trump. And I'm not siding with Katy Perry. Remember, folks, that things are about principle, not politics. I'm not here to agree with one person and disagree with another person, ever. I am here to highlight fundamental truths. I am here to focus on principles over people, right? I am here to focus on education. And so why do I not want more money for ICE? Because they can be more efficient. They already have $75 billion. Now they want $10 billion more in this latest. We can't spend more money, people. Do you read me loud and clear? What do you not understand? Okay, we cannot increase spending. Okay? If you say, well, Sam, we need more money in ICE. Fine. There's so much government waste that you could get a handle on, a.k.a. Doge, and you could reallocate money. Fine. But you don't need to spend more money. You can find where ICE agents could reduce costs. You can, there's a ton of things. So I'm not really agreeing with Katy Perry because her message and mine are different. Her message is, don't fund ICE agents, they're bad guys. My message is different. My message says ICE agents are upholding the rule of law. They're necessary. You don't like it, as Tom Homan wisely points out, go to Congress. They're the ones that made the laws that we're upholding. If you don't like them, go to Congress and change them. That's fine. But in the meantime, we're going to uphold the law. And in the meantime, these people aren't peacefully assembling like the First Amendment says they have the right, the opportunity to do. And some would call it even the duty to do. I get that. I go there. But you don't have a right to protest and riot. You don't have the right, if you're this Renee Goode, to literally use your vehicle as a weapon against law enforcement. You don't have the right, if you're Alex Preti, to literally get violent, start dropping F-bombs and screaming and yelling like a whacked out fiend, and then going further and breaking the taillights of police vehicles. You don't have the right to do that. That's not a peaceful protest, people. Not even close. Now, I'm sad those people are dead. It didn't need to happen. But the way we create it, the reason it's the case is because we do everything to ratchet it up. Right? You got government officials in Minnesota literally saying, hey, we're backing the protesters. Get out of here, ICE. We're going to not obey ICE. We're going to not. There's delegations, ladies and gentlemen. We, the people, have delegated certain authority to the states and certain authority to the general government. And let's be clear, the authority that we delegated to the general government relates to immigration and immigration enforcement. And therefore, that's why the general government has authority here. The states have every right to support or to say we're not going to support. That's fine. I support that. The state of Minnesota says we're not going to support you. That's fine. But if you get in the way, you need to be arrested. So here's my question for all of you about this Alex Preti clown. I'm sorry he's dead. I feel bad about that. I don't want anybody to die needlessly. I want everybody to live their full life as God intended, and for them to pass away into the next life as God's plan calls for, which means no premature death. Whether that be Charlie Kirk, Alex Preti, Renee Goode, any of these people. I don't want any of them dead. But all three of them are gone. And the reason they're gone is because we have too much fighting in America, too much volatility, too many people escalating rather than de-escalating, too many people saying we're beyond talking, we got to take action. We don't need to be beyond talking. We need to be beyond literally looking at the solutions. And I'm telling you, the solution to the violence going on in the streets is for the general government to literally get capable people mingling in the crowd and up on high places, rooftops and everywhere else, to scope out who the leaders are, who are the ones that have communications, who are the ones that are directing people towards violence and or encouraging or leading or acting out violently. And I'm telling you, write it down, folks. I'm telling you, you have 1,000 people in a crowd, you're going to find that about 100 people, 10%, are the ones that are causing most of the problems. And out of those 100 people, you can start to even prioritize them into categories. These people are probably going along. These people are the instigators. These people are the provocateurs. These people are the ones that are actually escalating, not de-escalating. These people aren't here for the right reasons. So then you basically say, we have probable cause, young man. So you send some people peacefully into the crowd. You tap them on the shoulder. Young man, young woman, we see that you're agitating this crowd here. We've got probable cause. Come with us. And you peacefully take those people away. Now, they may not be peaceful. They may get crazy right on the spot. Well, then you got to do what you got to do. But I'm telling you, that's the way to de-escalate this. To just tear gas everybody, to throw people on the ground and get all hostile to everybody. Most of them are innocent, peaceful people. If you would have taken out the leaders on January the 6th, exactly like I'm describing, Ray Epps would not have video all over the place where he agitated the crowd, egged people on, guided people into the trap, did things that escalated at every turn. It was so bad that even the day before, when Ray Epps tried to escalate, many people in the crowd are like, this guy's a fed, this guy's nuts, this guy's... See what I'm talking about? You get the Ray Epps and the other, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 people out of that mix in the crowd that day. And I'm telling you, the violence would have stopped instantly. Okay? But you end up with this crowd mentality, and that's what causes it. Okay? Tear gassing people only adds to the mix because a lot of the people are like, hey, we have a right to be here. Don't you dare tear gas us. They're right. They do have a right to be there. They have a right to peacefully go there. They have a right if they have a permit. But again, when they're told to dismiss and go home because there's violence or the destruction of property or whatever reason, disturbing the peace, agitating a crowd, bordering on insurrections, turning violent, escalating at every turn, the cops have every right to say it's time to go home, people. It's time to leave. And believe it or not, that was the message Trump gave on January the 6th that he never gets credit for. He told people that they should leave. There were people that even came out on video, and today we've been listening to Trump. He said to leave, let's disband, let's settle down, let's back away. We need more of that. But I will finish this topic for this segment on this idea. You know, it's one thing for Sam Bushman to give an opinion on how to de-escalate this thing, for other people to give their opinions, Katy Perry to give her opinion that we don't need more money for ICE. I agree with Katy Perry. Probably for different reasons. She doesn't think ICE ought to be funded, but I think differently. I just think we don't have more money to spend, so we're going to have to be more frugal with the money we have. But I support ICE. I support their efforts and what they're doing. So we agree on this one, but for different reasons. But I want to add this element to the mix. Everyone wants to talk about the police cracking down or government not cooperating with government, so the state of Minnesota won't cooperate with the general government, et cetera, et cetera. And my response to that is this: when are we going to turn to God? Yeah, I don't want to hear everybody's opinion. I don't want to hear, this government feels that way and that, and there's a big showdown. I want to turn to God and pray and say, what can we do, Lord? Our Father in heaven, what can we do to decrease the violence? And I think it starts with love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, might, mind, and strength, and love thy neighbor as thyself. You put those two commandments in place, and would you have people literally saying, I hate you, F you to the cops, breaking taillights? Would you have the cops shooting people? See, I don't think so. I think we got to do a lot more praying on our knees for a redress of grievance if we feel we need one, and peaceful assemblies for a redress of grievance in controlled environments so they don't run off the rails by bad actors, those who would desire to disrupt and cause trouble. I think those are the answers. Turn to God. Find places to peacefully assemble that allow you to air your redress of grievance, but not let it turn into mayhem. Oh, that's what we did a couple of weeks ago right here in the great state of Washington. Check out thelibertyconference.com. That's thelibertyconference.com, and you can watch the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association Peaceful Assembly, okay? You're watching Liberty Roundtable Live.
Have you ever had great honey? No, I mean really good, all-natural, raw honey? Well, now you can, thanks to localhoneyman.com. We can ship out our locally made honey all across the U.S. So don't worry, you won't miss out. Plus, Local Honeyman has so many different flavors, like Utah Wildflower, High Desert Delight, Happy Valley, and Blackberry, just to name a few. So purchase your delicious raw honey today at localhoneyman.com.
As you are aware, America is divided over every fault line possible. This is intentionally fostered by those who do not love God, family, or country. We believe a peaceful future as a free people absolutely depends on civility. Clarion Call for Civility is looking for funding and volunteers at every level to make our hopes and efforts a reality. Please donate, sign our pledge, and help us in our sacred cause. Please visit callforcivility.com for more details. Callforcivility.com.
Why don't we say to the government writ large that they have to spend a little bit less? Anybody ever had less money this year than you had last? Anybody ever having a 1% pay cut? You deal with it. That's what government needs, a 1% pay cut. If you take a 1% pay cut across the board, you have more than enough money to actually pay for the disaster relief. But nobody's going to do that because they're fiscally irresponsible. Who are they? Republicans. Who are they? Democrats. Who are they? Virtually the whole body is careless and reckless with your money. So the money will not be offset by cuts anywhere. The money will be added to the debt, and there will be a day of reckoning. What's the day of reckoning? The day of reckoning may well be the collapse of the stock market. The day of reckoning may be the collapse of the dollar. When it comes, I can't tell you exactly, but I can tell you it has happened repeatedly in history when countries ruin their currency.
All right. Sorry about that. Back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. Sam Bushman, hard-hitting talk, always at your fingertips. So I agree with Katy Perry. Now the Southern Poverty Law Center just emailed me and said, hey, we need to defund or have less funding to ICE. I don't agree with the Southern Poverty Law Center on hardly anything, but we all agree we need to decrease spending at the government level. Their reasons for defunding ICE and my reasons for wanting to decrease spending are completely different, so understand that reality check. But at the same time, hey, it's okay to agree, but for different reasons. We both are saying we need less spending, and amen to that. I think we ought to basically find the government waste and put it into ICE, whereas they want to basically defund and get rid of ICE altogether. Katy Perry, Southern Poverty Law Center, all these liberals want that. I disagree on that front, but I do support less money. We can be more efficient with government sacred funds, right? All right, Edison Research is in the news. Now, Edison is kind of like the Nielsen ratings people. Edison and Nielsen and everybody else wants to do, ratings and this, this is how many listeners people have. Well, Edison Research released what they call the top 50 podcast report for Q4 of 2025. So they do it quarterly, and then we're going to tell you the top 50 broadcasts, which I found kind of interesting. Thought I'd share it with you. No, I'm not on any of them. I'm not that important, right? Edison Research is publishing its top 50 podcasts in the USA based on reach for Q4 2025. Among weekly podcasts, they say we're dealing with consumers that are 13 plus. And so think about that, 13 plus. That's a pretty broad demographic there. right? 13 plus. Usually they say, no, we're in the 25 to 34 market, or we're in the, 29 to 60 market, or whatever. In this case, they're taking all of them. So it's kind of interesting how they do that. And you wonder really what the reach would be if we kind of changed how that would be, right? They say at number 1, though, is the Joe Rogan Experience. Crime Junkie is at number 2. The Daily is at number 3. And then they talk about other people, which I'll get to in just a second, but I want to focus on the first 3. I think Joe Rogan's an interesting host. He's more entertainment style than most. He does some hard-hitting interviews, and so he's such a big broadcaster or podcaster that he can get basically any guest that he wants to. And again, this is the sad part. Donald Trump trashes the mainstream press as if they're evil and horrible. And for the most part, he's correct on that reality. But Trump and team don't offer opportunities for people like me to grow. They could, one, help us with some funding. And I don't mean government funding. I just mean Trump could come out publicly and say, listen, I need small business and businesses to support the smaller podcasters. They need financial support. He could do a lot in the private sector for that just by word alone, letting his sons help lead the private sector. There's a lot of ways. We don't need government money. We need to deny media the government money. But then, if Donald Trump went on shows like mine and others, I'm not just talking about me only either. I'm just making a point. We could really make some serious progress because those mainstream press shows that can get the great guests would start to falter. They're not so awesome because their hosts are so awesome. They're awesome because they have a lot of money behind them and they're on a lot of broadcast stations, or they've, et cetera. You have Spotify or YouTube or Rumble or one of you, sending you big bucks. It's easy to grow with a lot of money. You can spend money on it. I went to the movie theater, and believe it or not, they had all the trailers running and promoting movies before the movie. That was all fine. Then all of a sudden, this chick comes on, hey, I'm Maria Munoz from whatever, and I come check out my podcast. See, I could never advertise like that and get a whole theater full of people to consider me. I don't get rolled out on 50, 200, 500 radio stations. You say, well, Sam, you haven't proven your mettle. You're just not good enough. We look for talent that's doing well. And now what they usually do is they, like big companies, they don't innovate, create new stuff. They just buy, take over, assume the big boys, right? And so that's why there's a big difference there. But I digress, except to say we could change this game if Trump and other officials would start to do interviews with us and not with the mainstream bad media. It would change the game almost overnight. But when you have literally, Pam Bondi going on big, hateful media organization one after the other and ignoring us small guys, the big media gets promoted, the small guy doesn't. If I have a guest on, let's say I have on Heath Perkins, freewatercoinco.com. It's a great guest because he's knowledgeable, valuable, a partner, a friend, an advertiser, a supporter. They do great. But at the end of the day, the question becomes this. What if Tom Holman came on Liberty RoundTable Live instead of CNN? What if Trump came on Liberty RoundTable Live or the Big Mig or Beth Ann Schoenberg's Common Sense Talk Radio or Charlie Kirk Show? I mean, they come on some of those, but those are getting bigger now, right? See? What if they came on C.L. Bryant's show or Ron Edwards' show or a lot of the shows we're involved with, the James Edwards show? So that would make a huge difference. Not only would it make a big difference because we're getting great guests, but then we could start to get bigger advertisers as we get those. It's like the chicken and the egg. It's very hard to grow out of that unless you start with some big money behind you. But Edison Research releases this top 50 broadcasters. Joe Rogan topped the list. This crime show was next. Well, listen to this because I found this interesting. The Megyn Kelly show was at number 13. Again, this is the point. How did Megyn Kelly get to be number 13? Well, the answer is she's a female, number one, and females do really well in the media because there's not very many female talk hosts, comparatively speaking. That's not downing her for that in any way. It's just a knowledge and truth. But the reason is because she was promoted as a big news babe for a long time on a huge network. So was Glenn Beck. So was, and I can keep going. And that's how they get their big audiences. And then when they etch out on their own, their audiences aren't near as big as they used to be in most cases. But they're still big because they had a big following that they maintain. The one that I know that's really gotten bigger for the most part since they left is probably Tucker Carlson. But the Tucker Carlson's not too far behind Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly was number 13. Tucker Carlson was number 20. Pretty big, pretty good shows. Both of them had huge backing, big money, millions of dollars. Even after they left their big gigs at the mainstream press networks, they have millions of dollars they can spend to promote their shows. The Charlie Kirk show is at number 47. And that show on Loving Liberty, our network, lovingliberty.net, is right after my show. But that's the Charlie Kirk show at number 47. The Ben Shapiro show at number 48, which I kind of find interesting. Anyway, I bring it up because I thought it was fascinating. I really thought it was interesting of who they listed. And then they have the whole top 50 that you can check out. It's a little bit like the Talkers Magazine Top Heavy 100, which I made the list, I'm grateful to say. But again, I'm making it on just a thin dime on my hard work. I got a couple of funders that are helping us, but we don't have big money. We don't even spend close to $1 million per year on our operations at all. We might spend $250,000 at best in a year. And that's with all of us working together, a bunch of us. Whereas a lot of these big talk hosts, late night hosts and big, I mean, they get paid $5, $10, $15, $20 million a year, just the host. Their operations cost, quadruple that, 50 to 100 million for some of these shows per year. We're doing our whole network on less than $250,000 a year. I mean, my show to produce isn't even close to that kind of stuff. And my show might cost us $4,000 or $5,000 a month to produce at most. And it's the biggest show on our network, meaning it's 2 hours, it's radio, it's video, it's everything. It's cuts, it's YouTube, it's all these deliverables. And we don't even spend, that much money on the show. I find that very interesting. But if Donald Trump and those guys would put their money where their mouth is and support us a little bit in the private sector, if they would allow us to get great guests, I mean, just imagine what it would do to Liberty Roundtable Live if I had on Kristi Noem, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Donald Trump, Melania Trump, and had on a lot of the surrogates and leaders of the Trump administration. Imagine if Tom Holman rolled in and did an interview with us. And those interviews were denied to the CNNs of the world and the Fox News of the world and a lot of to the NPRs, National Public, to all those guys. Just imagine what that would do, how that would change the game. It would be massive, right? And then just imagine if we were able to get a little bit of money to grow what we're doing. If we were able to get several radio stations to take a chance on the show and then, see what the ratings are. I guarantee that the American people want good, honest, truth-telling hosts that are less elite and more like them, right? Anyway, I'm not downing some of the big boys. I think Tucker Carlson does a wonderful job. I think a lot of people do a great job. Donald Trump Jr. does a great job in the media. He's helping out with a lot of stuff. I think there's a lot of good people. Jennings is doing a great job. Scott Jennings does great stuff. Okay, there's the few in the crowd that are doing phenomenal, and I commend them for their work. When we get back, I want to talk about people. We'll do it. You're watching and listening to the one and only Liberty Roundtable Live.
Protecting your liberties. You're listening to Liberty News Radio.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. We've made a lot of progress in the last few days. That's Border Czar Tom Homan's assessment of talks he's held with state and city officials in Minnesota, including Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry.
If we get these agreements in place, that means less agents on the street. More agents in the jail means less agents in the street. This is common sense cooperation that allows us to draw down on the number of people we have here. Yes, I said it. Draw down the number of people here.
President Trump dispatched Homan to Minneapolis amid the turmoil over immigration enforcement by federal agents. The FBI investigating allegations of discrepancies in the 2020 election. The Bureau has served a search warrant at Fulton County, Georgia's election headquarters, seeking ballots from the election. Disagreements over immigration enforcement could lead to a partial government shutdown at week's end.
The Senate has until Friday midnight to pass 6 spending bills, but Democrats are threatening to block funding for the Department of Homeland Security because of the fatal shootings by ICE agents in Minneapolis. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer said Democrats are demanding reforms and that the legislation won't pass until ICE is reined in and overhauled. Republicans will need Democratic votes to keep the government open. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Man's been arrested for repeatedly ramming his car into the Chabad Lubavitch World Headquarters in New York City. The Hasidic Jewish Center was damaged, but there were no injuries. President Trump is turning up the heat on Iran, saying that Tehran had better agree to a nuclear deal with the U.S. or else. Stocks deep in the red this morning on Wall Street. The Dow is down 289 points and NASDAQ off almost 600 points. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. Now that we're finally into the new year, a lot of us are thinking about taxes, home projects we've been putting off, ways to get ahead financially in 2026. Now's the perfect time to talk to my friends at Fellowship Home Loans. If you want to lower your mortgage payment, they can help you refinance. If you need access to cash for home improvements or to wipe out high-interest debt, their fixed-rate line of credit is one of the best tools out there. Fast approval, predictable rate, and flexibility to use your home's equity wisely. Remember, many people still qualify to skip their next 2 mortgage payments. Imagine starting big projects or paying down debt with 2 months of breathing room. My family and I have used Fellowship personally. I trust these guys. Take control of 2026. Go to fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. or call 800-510-MIKE. That's 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans. Mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers. DBA Fellowship Home Loans. Equal housing lender. NMLS number 819382.
Attention collectors and savvy investors. We are excited to announce a momentous evolution in our journey. Introducing Free Water Coin Company, formerly known as Rust Coin and Gift. This rebranding takes us back to the very roots of where it all began. Free Water, Oregon. It's a tribute to the legacy of Al Rust and a celebration of 3 generations of dedication to excellence in the world of coins and precious gifts. Al, Brian, and Jake Rust standing strong through 64 years of service. Discover a world of exceptional service at Free Water Coin Company, your premier destination for genuine, honest money and precious gifts. Under Brian's expert guidance, Free Water Coin Company, building on the legacy of Rust Coin and Gift, continues its tradition of trust and excellence. Visit us at our Provo, Utah location. Explore our treasures online at freewatercoinco.com or call us at 801-377-1574. Free Water Coin Company, where your future is built one honest coin at a time.
Bypass the mainstream narrative with Liberty News Radio at libertynewsradio.com. Engage with charismatic hosts live or on demand. We cover the crucial news focused on God, family, and country. News that other networks simply refuse to use. Think of LNR's hard-hitting news and podcasts at your fingertips, anytime, anywhere. Join us at libertynewsradio.com. Empower your day with the truth, because the truth will set you free. libertynewsradio.com.
Introducing Managed IT Services from NPI. We offer top-notch data backup and recovery, email spam protection, and network security tailored to your needs and budget. With 20-plus years of experience in the medical field, our HIPAA-certified consultants know what it takes to protect sensitive information. Don't settle for less. Give us a call at 801-706-6980 and experience the difference with Managed IT Services. Remember, your IT support should be fast, efficient, and reliable.
All right, back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. I mentioned I wanted to talk about people coming up because we talked about podcasts and why these podcasts are so popular. And I'm not suggesting some of these people are not talented. Many of them are. And I'm not suggesting that, I'm better than anybody else or anything else. All I'm telling you is that the mainstream hosts are the ones that are promoted by the big networks. They have an agenda. And that agenda is not to really be truth-telling, for the most part. That agenda is not to focus on God, family, and country, for the most part. It's to entertain. And oftentimes it's to whip people up into a frenzy. None of that is any good for America, in my humble opinion. And Donald Trump's right. The mainstream press is dishonest in many ways. But yet they turn around and give interviews and promote the mainstream press big time. I mean, even Rand Paul, Thomas Massey, some of these people that should be our friends, they don't come on our shows. Mike Lee, they go on the big boys shows because they're like, well, that's where the listeners and viewers are. That's right. And as long as you keep promoting that, that'll be the case. The smaller guys like us will have a hard time getting a word in edgewise or actually having a fair seat at the table. But if you would give us the interviews, if you would allow us to compete in a fair way, pretty soon, if CNN and Fox and, Huffington Post and all these other groups, Bloomberg and whatever other news organization, if they didn't get all the great guests, and we did, the smaller guys, instantly would become more important. And instantly our names would be in the news. And our names would be of focus. And so I gave you the example of the Edison Research and the top 50 podcasts. It's all about money, okay? A lot of these people start on Barstool Sports and stuff like that, and they get a chunk of change to start. And then if they do well, hey, pretty soon Rumble or whatever, YouTube starts to fuel their money tree. And then, hey, it's no problem from there. Many of these talk show hosts that are popular that I mentioned, they all came from big networks that funded them where they made a lot of money. And then without a lot of money, even if they're let go and they're on their own, they've got a household name almost because it's built up by the big networks. And then they basically, have plenty of money to promote their new venture. How would it be if Sam Bushman was launched on 500 radio stations and Sam Bushman was quoted in all kinds of news articles? And Sam Bushman was quoted as providing solutions to the ICE problem. And, hey, Katy Perry's right for wanting to not increase funding to ICE. She's got the wrong reasons for her desire, but to decrease funding and to use money more wisely and carefully in government is wise. Go ask Doge. So this is what I'm talking about. Anyway, the reason I bring this up is in Talkers Magazine, they usually have a list of people. The headline says people, and it's basically who was talked about the most or who was given the most highlighted focus in the media. And this, again, is what drives the narrative. That's my point. And I personally believe we've got all the wrong people that get all the headlines. Number one is Donald Trump. He might deserve it. He was the 45th, and now he's the 47th president of the United States. He's very wealthy, a real estate developer, right? And dominant figure in American modern politics. Trump hitting the top of the news makes sense. However, I think it's a little too much. Trump doesn't need to grab every single headline in the country. It's actually possible to do a show without Donald Trump in the news. Well, it used to be. Well, it should be. But, it's difficult. But he was top of the list. Are you surprised? He's been top of the list for the most part since he rolled down the escalator. In 2015? And I think Trump's worthy of a lot of news. But he's not worthy of gobbling up all the news headlines. Nobody is, folks. There's more to life than Donald. All right, here's the next people in the news. Mark Rutte, or Root, or however you say his name, Rout. He's a long-serving prime minister of the Netherlands and a leading voice in European and NATO affairs. Why is he in the news? Well, because we're talking about Greenland. So Donald's almost put that guy top in the news, right? The next one, Mette Frederiksen, and then they say Lars Løkke Rasmussen. So those are two people in this one. Who are they? Mette Frederiksen, Prime Minister of Denmark, known for strong social democratic leadership and security policies. Lars whatever Rasmussen, former Danish prime minister and current foreign minister, central to Denmark's coalition politics. Well, again, so you take the top 3 people in the news, 4 people in the news, that's all it is. Now you take Gavin Newsom, governor of California, prominent progressive leader and frequent national political contender. Well, this guy's, in my opinion, a clown. Why are we letting him garner all the news? And is it good news about his name? See, I don't really see that. But that's where in America we focus on pop culture. Taylor Swift gets the news. Travis Kelce gets the news. Katy Perry gets the news. Justin Trudeau gets the news. And all these people that I'm naming and all these figures, in my opinion, most of these people just aren't any good. Think about Vladimir Putin's in the news. Why? President of Russia, known for consolidating power, reshaping global political realities. Right? All right. How about Volodymyr Zelensky, president of the Ukraine, internationally recognized for leading the country during the Russian invasion? So yeah, promote those two guys, promote the leader of Russia and promote the leader of the Ukraine. What does that really have to do with America? Answer, not much, but they're still in the top 10 people the news has been talking about. See, the mainstream press controls that narrative, right? The next one is Lisa Cook. Well, who the heck's Lisa Cook? Economist, Federal Reserve governor, known for research on economic growth, innovation, and inequality. Okay, why are we talking about her? Well, because the Federal Reserve is front and center. Donald Trump's having a fight with the Federal Reserve. See, what if Donald Trump put our names in the news more than these people's names? Does it help to promote and fight with the leader of the Federal Reserve? Or would it be better to focus on low-key legends? Focus on people that are making a difference in their own quiet, valuable ways. But the next 2 people in the news, Bill and Hillary Clinton. Yeah, Bill Clinton, 42nd president of the United States. Yeah, he led the country to the 1990s. They call it an economic expansion, but what I call it was, hey, we're putting too much money into the economy eventually to pay the piper. Hillary Clinton, former Secretary of State, U.S. Senator, and 2016 Democratic presidential nominee. Okay, but why are they in the news? What have they done? The only reason they're in the news, in my opinion, is because they got caught in a bunch of scandals, and now they won't testify in before Congress. Why aren't they thrown in prison for that? See, what we need to do is kick in their door at 6 a.m., have the media there, not CNN or Fox or whatever, have real media there that'll cover it. Isn't that what they did to our buddy? Yeah. Crazy how that happens, right? Next, Jack Smith. Jack Smith, U.S. Department of Justice, special counsel, appointed to oversee, what do they call this, high-profile federal investigations? Okay. Well, now this guy's, in trouble. But Jack Smith is a bad guy. He should be arrested for his crimes, too, in my humble opinion. Oh, he deserves due process just like everybody else. I get it. All right, how about Lindsay Halligan? Do you even know who that is? Well, she's top in the news, folks. Attorney known for representing Donald Trump in major legal and constitutional matters. Okay, so think about it. Everybody is globally represented, and or they're brought in for negative reasons. But why are we focusing on all those people? Aren't there positive people? Aren't there role models? Aren't there people that are doing a marvelous work and a wonder that you could bring up? What about the low-key legends? What about the quiet people, the people that are working and living in their society and doing a great job for whatever reason they're doing? What about those guys, those people? Shouldn't we give those people some promo, some highlight? What about Melania Trump? I don't know if you know, but she's calling for kindness, leading with kindness. We need more of that. See, if we would learn to put the right people in the news for the right reasons, we could literally possibly change the news cycle. I would love nothing more than to see that. Okay? But I'll tell you another guy who's making the mainstream press, and it's not good. His name is Kyle Wagner. I'll tell you about what Kyle's doing next segment. This guy, bad guy. I want to hear about good people doing good things, not bad people doing bad things all the time. Don't you? You're watching and listening to the one and only Liberty Roundtable Live. We are syndicated by the Loving Liberty Network, lovingliberty.net. Spread the word, share the love. Back in seconds.
You know where the solution can be found, Mr. President? In churches, in wedding chapels, in maternity wards across the country and around the world. More babies will mean forward-looking adults, the sort we need to tackle long-term, large-scale problems. American babies in particular are likely going to be wealthier, better educated, and more conservation-minded than children raised in still industrializing countries. As economist Tyler Cowen recently wrote, quote, "By having more children, you're making your nation more populous, thus boosting its capacity to solve climate change. The planet does not need for us to think globally and act locally so much as it needs us to think family and act personally. The solution to so many of our problems, at all times and in all places, is to fall in love, get married, and have some kids."
Introducing PrepStartsNow.com, your ultimate guide to readiness and peace of mind. We offer practical preparedness tools, training, and education to take your family's household readiness to the next level. Browse the prep shop for essential products, check out our planning guides, and stay informed with our prep blog. Visit PrepStartsNow.com and subscribe to our emails for exclusive offers, new products, and future events. Remember, preparedness begins with PrepStartsNow.com.
Former Sheriff Richard Mack recounts in his book The Proper Role of Law Enforcement, how he came to realize while working as a beat cop how wrong the all-too-common orientation of police officers is when they think of their job as being to write tickets and arrest people. Richard Mack tells of his personal transformation from by-the-number cop to Constitution-conscious defender of citizen safety and freedoms. Learn what it really means to serve and protect. Purchase your copy at cspoa.org. That's cspoa.org.
All right, so I'm talking about media being promoted that ought not be. I'm talking about names in the news that ought not be. But we fall for it every time. There's a guy in the news, I think it's pretty negative. His name is Kyle Wagner. And I believe in free speech, baby. I'm one of the biggest free speech advocates on the planet right now. But this guy has crossed the line, in my opinion. His name is Kyle Wagner. He's a Minneapolis man. He's got nearly 36,000 Instagram followers. He posted videos online encouraging armed resistance against federal law enforcement following a fatal shooting by the Border Patrol in Minneapolis. So this guy's literally calling for armed resistance. Wagner, identifying as Antifa, incited his followers to, quote, get your effing guns and confront Nazi gunmen after the Department of Homeland Security shot this armed suspect who was threatening somebody in law enforcement. Okay? I don't know how to deal with this. Following the incident, they say Wagner sought financial support for an emergency freedom and defense fund via Venmo, instructing followers to prepare for conflict with federal agencies like Immigrations and Customs, ICE. Wagner openly aligns with the far left, as indicated by I guess it's called his 3 arrows tattoo. And the number Iron Front, hashtag, in his Instagram bio. Okay, this guy's not a good person. This guy's calling for armed insurrection. Now you say, well, he's got his free speech, Sam. I understand. But to me, he's crossed the line. You don't have the right to say, hey, let's have armed resistance against federal law enforcement. Get your effing guns and confront. Okay, this is out of line. I don't know if this guy's getting arrested or what's happening to this guy, but he made national news over this. And this is my worry. This is my concern, people. What on earth is happening? If I do something for civility, a clarion call for civility is my plea. Callforcivility.com, turning into campaign for civility, that's not even focused on. That's like, oh, Sam's just goofy. He's a, softy. Civility is not soft, people. Civility is appropriate bridling of your passions, restraint. This guy openly aligns with the left. I don't even know what he's thinking. He sought financial support for his fund. I don't even understand this guy. But this is, again, in my opinion, goes way beyond free speech. You say, Sam, he can express what he wants. Yeah, but when you literally call for money and arms to fight your government, what is the words he used? Armed resistance? Well, Trump started talking about possible insurrection. This, in my mind, is it. This guy's nuts. And I'm not trying to attack Kyle Wagner. What I'm trying to say is, Kyle, please step back. Please help us de-escalate. Please don't do this. It doesn't help. When is our conversation helpful and when is our conversation not helpful? And I'm certainly not perfect at it. It takes time and effort to learn to be kind and peaceful and control your language in meaningful, productive, solution-oriented ways. It's hard. But I'm really trying, and I hope others will try too. Because what I want to see is de-escalation. I don't want to see a civil war in America. I want to have de-escalation around the world. I want us to spend less. I want us to stay home with our families and eat dinner together and pray together and implore our Almighty God to accept our repentance so that he'll heal our land and protect us. That's what I want. Meanwhile, AI is in the news. The global AI industry, they say, is expected to see significant investment, with companies expected to invest, they say, over $500 billion in AI technology in 2026 alone. According to Thomas Savage, this guy's a research fellow at the American Institute for Economic Research. He says the growing adoption of AI in the U.S. may disrupt jobs, but it will also improve the quality of life by automating mundane tasks. A report from Challenger Gray and Christmas revealed that in 2025, AI-related job cuts in the U.S. totaled 54,800 plus jobs, with 71,000 plus layoffs cited since 2023. So we're already starting to see, in my opinion, a lot of job loss. Teresa Payton, CEO of a group called Fortalice Solutions, expressed concerns that AI might erode entry-level jobs, potentially stifling future innovation. Now think about that. If AI is so wonderful at every turn, why would having AI take over jobs stifle innovation? Because people are the innovators. People come up with new and unique ways to build a better mousetrap. That's why people beat a path to your door. Okay, AI doesn't do that. AI can just regurgitate what we, the collective human race, have put into AI. It can regurgitate it better than we can. It can organize it and watch for patterns and do some cool things. Computers are great assistants. AI is a great assistant to we the people. Daniel Cochran, he's of the Heritage Foundation. He noted increased reliance on AI, and he says it's going to be boosted in 2026 big time. It'll be integrated into employees' workflows. And I think Daniel's speaking of AI correctly. I'm an IT guy, and he's right. We need to build these AIs into our workflows. Let AI help us. Make sure tech serves you, does not own you. The International Monetary Fund, for example, is predicting what they call U.S. GDP growth of 2.4% in 2026, enhanced by AI investments, with Goldman Sachs and Vanguard also posting economic benefits from AI adoption. That's great. Advanced AI systems, known as agentic AI, are expected to handle very complex tasks with minimal human supervision, potentially transforming various sectors and creating new markets. That's good, but I think they're overhyping it now. Kevin Frazier of the Kalo Institute highlighted the influence of AI regarding the labor market and cited economic factors and AI regulation as pivotal in shaping AI's future impacts. That's very interesting, and I agree with that. Now listen to this. AI-related investments globally reached $1.5 trillion in 2025, with concerns about increased AI usage in daily life for Americans. That's according to a Pew Research Center survey. Are you concerned about it? I am. I'm very concerned about it. All right, last story before the end of the hour. The CIA is now setting up operations in Venezuela following the capture of former President Nicolas Maduro. This move, they say, is part of the Trump administration's broader strategy in the country. Discussions between the CIA and State Department officials are focusing on establishing a strategic U.S. presence for both immediate and long-term phases post-Maduro. I don't think we ought to be in long-term phases. The CIA's role, they say, includes preparing for diplomacy, ensuring security, and connecting with key local figures. Anyway, they talk about the efficiency in catching Maduro, incredible team. Now they say, and this is what I have a problem with, U.S.-backed Maduro's vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, she's now the president, I guess, right? That's who the U.S. backs. They say we want insiders to stabilize the country after Maduro's gone and there's a vacuum there. This lady's no friend of ours. Rodriguez now serves as the interim president. Anyway, CIA Director John Ratcliffe visited Venezuela in early January to meet with them, discussing threats from China, Russia, and Iran. They want a plan to maintain presence in Venezuela, and they want to build now a new building. They want to build a U.S. embassy. I think it's a disaster. I think we need to get out of these countries. I think we need to take care of our home domestic responsibilities. And the sooner we do that, in my mind, the better, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully it was an educational and entertaining broadcast. I'm Sam Bushman. We are syndicated by the Loving Liberty Network, lovingliberty.net. Spread the word. Charlie Kirk after me. Great talk radio. Great videos coming out. We're everywhere, baby. Spread the word, share the love, and God save the Republic.